Hey there guys, welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. Today we're taking a look at the Becker BK2 companion knife. And you know what? It's time to actually get this review done. We've been testing this knife out for a very long time. You guys have seen it in a lot of my videos. So it's time to tackle this beast and give you guys my final judgment on this great knife. To start with this video, basically what I want to do is talk about the negatives. There's only two aspects to this knife that I really do not find appealing. First off, it would be the handle. I'm going to say it's fair. It's a little bit slick on the hand. If you're going to be sweating, if it's raining maybe, you're definitely going to feel it kind of slip around in your grip. Now, it makes up for that by the angle of the cut of the handle. You're able to put your hand in there, and it really fits well. So even if you're kind of slipping around, it's not going to go flying out of your hand by any means. But so that's just, it's just fair, we'll say that. My biggest gripe comes from the Kydex sheath. With the Generation 1 model, the Kydex sheath was very loose, so the blade would just pop out very easily. With the Generation 2, it's much more rigid, harder to pull the blade out, and that's not even, and that's okay. That's not really bad. I don't care for it all that much, being so rigid to pull out. But the biggest problem comes from the balance. Basically, the back of the sheath here and how it attaches to your hip belt, it's not connected. So the top part of the handle, the weight, is constantly pulling this knife away from your hip. So if you had this on your hip, attached to your belt, and it was unbuckled, the knife itself would constantly hang like this, or like this, or like this. It's just because of that simple fact that they overlooked the connection of the top of the sheath to the actual strap itself. If they had connected those two, it wouldn't have been a problem at all. Running around in the woods in your camp, doing your bushcraft, whatever you happen to be doing, you're not always going to want to spend the time to buckle this up so that this will actually ride correctly on your hip. So that is my biggest pet peeve. I personally hate this sheath. I think it's a piece of junk, and that is exactly why I went ahead and purchased a Skystorm leather sheath off of eBay. This is custom made. It cost about $70 to get made. It took about 2 to 3 weeks for delivery, and it's absolutely awesome. The craftsmanship is amazing. The gentleman who made this is definitely an artisan at his work here. So I highly recommend it. If you like leather, grab one, buy it. You won't be sorry. Just make sure to give leather the proper attention that it needs. That's the biggest, most important factor when it comes to leather, is that if you're in a hot, wet environment, you have to care for it properly. This knife here comes in at a very affordable $70. Over the years, the price has been going up on this. When I purchased this about 6 months ago, it was only around 60 bucks. And now, like I said, it's around 70. It weighs 1 pound, 16 ounces. The blade itself is 5 1/4 inches long. The length of the knife itself is 10.5 inches altogether. It has a drop point blade on the front, right through here. It features 1095 Cro-van steel. And one very important factor about this knife is that it was made in the United States. That definitely resonates with me, as I'm sure it does with you if you're an American. At the handle, the hilt of the knife, it does feature a full tang that juts up away from the edge of the handle, so you can use this as a chisel. This is different for the Generation 2 model than the Generation 1. The Generation 1 had the tang fully flush with the handle of the knife. So when you're looking at a knife of this size, of this weight, you're probably asking yourself, what is a knife like this for? And truly, this knife is a jack of all trades. Sorry about the cars going by. lots of traffic today. But yes, this is a jack of all trades and a master of none. There's better, longer knives for batoning. There's better, smaller knives for skinning. There's lighter knives for bushcraft. But you know, really, for the $70 price tag, you're getting a knife that functions very, very well at every area that you can think of, from batoning to camp knife to bushcraft to skinning. You really can't go wrong with a blade like this, especially for 60, 70 bucks. As I mentioned before, there is a good weight to this knife, and that's what I really, really like about it. When I have a knife that's on my hip, I like for that blade to have a really good heft to it. I like to know that it's there, and with a knife like this, you're definitely going to know it. It definitely makes its presence well known on your hip. So, before I finish up this review, I'm going to compare this knife to a number of different knives that I have here on the table, and you'll take a look at the blade length and blade width. So, you have the Becker BK2 blade right here, and the first knife we'll compare that to is the K-Bar United States Marine Corps fighting knife. You can see there's definitely a huge difference in blade length as well as width. Naturally, these are two very different knives with two very different purposes, but just for the sake of comparison, I thought I'd show you that to you. The next knife will be the Mora No. 2 blade, and you can see there's a huge difference right there in size, width, and length. Very good knife, by the way. The next knife comes in the form of the Spyderco Bushcraft G10 knife. Still, good difference in blade length and width. Really, really nice. I really like this knife, let me tell you what. It's still in testing as of right now. The next knife is a Gerber infantry blade. Pretty comparable in length, fairly close in width. Definitely, the BK is definitely bigger, but still a substantial blade here with the Gerber. Finally, for our last comparison, we have the Ontario SP50. And golly, look at the size difference on this. Who is the winner? Well, depends on what your needs are. Very, very comparable for thickness of the blade. No comparison when it comes to length. With this knife, if you're doing some batoning, you probably don't want to go over a log that's about 4 inches in diameter. With this one, sky's the limit for the most part. Anything that's reasonable, this knife would definitely be able to take care of it. Here we have a close-up of the Becker BK2 companion knife, and you guys can see here, it's really seen a lot of action over the last couple months, but still, very, very sharp, very, very good blade, even with the slick handles and the poor sheath. But yeah, there's the Sky Storm leather sheath, which I purchased off eBay. If you guys want the information concerning the seller, please let me know. Guys, as you guys have seen, a number of different comparisons with some pretty popular and well-known blades. The Becker BK2 companion blade is really a hell of a knife. I have to tell you that after a lot of use, I really, really do enjoy this blade. I've put it through hell. I've beaten the hell out of it, and it's still very, very sharp. Very, very, very good blade. I highly recommend it for just about most needs. It will definitely fit the bill well for a hunting knife, a camp knife, a bushcraft knife, and so on. If you know how to use it properly with batoning and the proper size diameter wood to do it on, this thing really, really works well. So, for this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review, we say thumbs up for the Becker BK2. You guys take care, and we'll see you soon.